Scrolling feels effortless. Working feels like pain. Watching videos feels natural. Reading feels like forcing. And you've been blaming yourself for this imbalance, when the real cause is neurological, not personal. Inside your brain, there is a pleasure center that has been trained by years of modern overstimulation to be hyperactive, and a discipline center that has been chronically under-rewarded. The imbalance is real, and it can be corrected. Right now, your brain's reward scale is tipped dramatically toward cheap dopamine. Phone, junk food, passive entertainment. Discipline sits on the other side, barely registering. Not because discipline isn't valuable, because your brain has lost the sensitivity to feel its reward. What if discipline didn't have to feel like punishment? What if your brain could be literally rewired at a neurological level to find genuine satisfaction in hard work, focus, and effort? That is not a motivational fantasy. That is neuroscience. Here's how dopamine actually works. When you encounter a reward, or even the anticipation of one, your brain releases dopamine along a specific neural pathway. This release is what creates the feeling of pleasure, motivation, and reward. Dopamine is not the pleasure chemical, it is the motivation chemical. Modern life has flooded this pathway with constant stimulation. Hundreds of dopamine hits per hour from phones, notifications, processed food, and entertainment. The pathway is permanently congested, and a congested reward system loses its ability to respond to subtle, real rewards. The result is receptor desensitization. Your dopamine receptors, which should be bright and sensitive, have downregulated. They've shrunk. They respond less, which means you need more stimulation to feel anything. And normal, healthy activities feel flat, boring, and unrewarding. Cheap dopamine spikes fast and crashes hard, often below your baseline, leaving you feeling worse than before. Discipline-based dopamine rises slowly, but it stays elevated. It compounds over time, and it builds the neural pathways that make the next disciplined act feel easier and more rewarding. Most people are caught in the cheap dopamine loop without realizing it. Hit, crash, need more. Hit again. Each cycle makes the baseline lower and the need greater. This is not a character flaw. This is a chemical loop. And like all loops, it can be interrupted. Here is the most important neuroscience principle you will ever apply to your life. Neuroplasticity. Your brain physically changes based on what you repeatedly do. Neural pathways strengthen with use and without it, which means the discipline pathway that feels weak and painful right now can be rebuilt deliberately, systematically. This is where the dopamine detox comes in, not as a punishment, not as an extreme deprivation experiment, as a precise neurological recalibration, resetting your reward system so that real rewards feel real again. Let's break it down step by step. Step 1. Identify your cheap dopamine sources honestly and specifically. Phone scrolling, processed food, binge watching, mindless gaming. Write them down. Name them. Because you cannot remove what you haven't clearly identified. This list is not a shame list, it is a target list. Step 2. Create a fasting window. A defined period where the cheap sources are completely unavailable. Start with 24 hours, 1 day. Remove the apps from your home screen. Put the junk food out of reach. Create friction between yourself and the cheap hits. Your brain will protest loudly. That protest is the detox beginning. During the fast, you will feel restless, agitated, bored in a way that feels almost unbearable. This discomfort has a name. It's called the dopamine trough. It is your receptor sensitivity beginning to return. The discomfort is not the enemy. It is the medicine. Stay in it. Step 3. Replace cheap dopamine with hard dopamine activities. Walk outside without your phone. Take a cold shower. Read 10 pages of a real book. Do 20 minutes of exercise. Create something. Write, draw, build. These activities produce dopamine, real dopamine, the kind that rebuilds your sensitivity rather than destroying it. Cold exposure alone produces a dopamine release of 250% above baseline. And unlike a social media hit, this release is sustained for hours afterward with no crash. The discomfort of the cold water is the price. The neurochemical reward is the return. Your brain is learning what real effort feels like again. Step 4. Track the window. Keep a simple journal. Day 1, how did it feel? Day 3, any different? Day 7, what has shifted? The evidence of your own changing brain is the most powerful motivation to continue. You are not trusting a theory. You are observing a real neurological transformation in real time. By day 7, something measurable happens. Your dopamine receptors begin to resensitize. They brighten. They grow more responsive. Activities that felt flat and unrewarding a week ago begin to carry real pleasure weight again. The book becomes genuinely interesting. The walk feels genuinely good. The work session ends and you feel accomplished. Actually accomplished. And you sit down to work, and instead of the familiar painful resistance, something different shows up. Focus arrives earlier, stays longer. The work still requires effort, but the effort has a different texture. Less punishment, more flow. Not because the task changed, because the brain experiencing the task has been rewired. The reward scale begins to rebalance. Disciplined activities, the book, the workout, the focused work session, carry more reward weight than before. Cheap dopamine sources, still available, still tempting, begin to feel slightly less compelling. Not overnight, but measurably. The scale is moving toward balance. And here is where the rewire becomes permanent. The identity shift. You stop being someone who forces themselves to be disciplined. You start being someone who finds genuine reward in discipline. That identity shift is not motivational language. It is a neurological description of a brain that has been successfully recalibrated. Discipline rewired feels like flow, not force. It feels like satisfaction, not suffering. The gauge moves from painful to neutral, to genuinely satisfying. Not because discipline became easy, because your brain learned through repeated experience that discipline is where its deepest rewards actually live. This is your brain after the rewire. Both hemispheres active, both reward systems balanced. Pleasure and discipline no longer in opposition, but working together. You don't choose between enjoying life and building life. You build a life that you genuinely enjoy building. That is the reward of the rewire. Are you ready to rewire? Tell us in the comments, what is your day 1 plan? What cheap dopamine source will you fast from? What hard dopamine activity will you replace it with? Write it below. That comment is your first act of rewiring. Your brain can be rewired. Not someday, not after you feel more motivated. Starting with one detox day. Today. The neuroscience is clear. The pathway is real. The only remaining variable is whether you choose to walk it. Day 1 starts now.